ahead. I had to close my windows. Good afternoon and welcome to We Care Ministry Support Team Saturday discussion. Today our discussion will be the effects of COVID in the education system, and we have as our guest Dr. NaKeshia Bibbs from Levelland, Texas, but she now dwells in San Antonio. And so we are looking forward to this great discussion that we're about to have. So if you are ready to listen, we are about to get started. This is your opportunity to share and follow and like us on Facebook. And this is the time to start your watch party because we are going to have a great discussion. I cannot wait to hear what is going to happen on today. We are so excited to have Sister Bibbs. We appreciate her so much. And we are excited about learning more about the effects on the education system right here in San Antonio. So I'm going to turn this over to Vanessa, and she is going to tell you a little bit about who Dr. Bibbs is. Vanessa?
Yes, thank you. Dr. NaKeshia Bibbs is an associate principal at Sam Houston High School, and she is a distinguished educator with over 15 years of experience in education. Her dedication to student achievement has been lifelong. It is a commitment that she takes pride in the work that she does, and the people that she communicates with, even in her community. She's being a blessing everywhere she goes. She started her educational career in teaching 6th grade mathematics and spent 7 years teaching math in the middle school level. So some of your students, if you have children, or some of your children, if they're students, may have encountered Dr. Bibbs, and we know it was a good encounter. And Dr. Bibbs holds a doctorate degree in educational leadership from the University of Texas, San Antonio. And Dr. Bibbs' educational background and personal experience have helped shape her philosophy of education. She has led several professional development sessions for teachers on relationships, curriculum development, and academic achievement. She believes that all students deserve a quality education that provides them with the opportunities to achieve success. Dr. Bibbs is also married. Her husband, Chance Bibbs Sr., is a high school teacher and a coach. And they have a 3-year-old son named Chance, and he is junior. So, also, Dr. Bibbs is a Christian woman, so that helps with dealing with a whole bunch of the things that are going on in the education system in the schools today. And I don't know if you know or not, it's not easy for teachers, it's not easy for educators, it's not easy for those in leadership to deal with a lot that's going on. And having a faith
So it looks like Vanessa went out on us a little bit. So we're going to just go to Dr. Bibbs, and we're going to ask her to just introduce herself to you a little bit and tell us a little bit about herself so that you can get to know her just like we know her. So Keisha?
Thank you all for having me today. Yes, as you heard in my bio, I am an associate principal at Sam Houston High School. I had also been an assistant principal at Judson Middle School for 7 years prior to coming to Sam Houston High School. I definitely love what I do. When I was a teacher in the classroom, I taught math, all levels in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And then I became an administrator. And so being an administrator also is a special a role that I love because I'm in contact with teachers, helping to grow teachers, working with students, and also speaking with parents about the needs and the resources that they need to help their students be successful. And so I have taken pride in being an educator these last 15 years, and I'm on my 16th year, and I want to continue to work with families and students to increase their academic success.
Well, thank you so much for that little brief introduction. It's very, I mean, you know, it's interesting in that you had so much experience, but one of the questions I would start off with is, what was the deciding factor on you choosing teaching or education as a career choice?
So my mother is actually a teacher. And so after I finished my undergrad, it was in education and biology. And I initially was moving here to go to Texas Health Science Center to begin to be a physical therapist. And so in my head, I was thinking, I don't want to go to school that long. So let's think about something else. So I decided to get my master's in education. So as I began to do that, and I was getting ready to finish education, my degree, my master's in education, I was thinking, well, maybe I should try teaching. Let's see how this goes. And so I became a substitute teacher as I was working on my master's. And then I enjoyed, you know, substituting. And so of course, as a substitute, it's different from when you're the teacher of record, because the students definitely don't treat you the same. But I enjoyed the encounters that I had with kids. And so after that, I decided, well, I really want to try this. So then I began my teaching career. And so to go back to me saying, I don't want to go to school that long, well, think about it. I went back and still got my doctorate. So the same amount of time it probably would have took me to be a physical therapist, I wound up investing that same time in getting my doctorate. I wouldn't look back and change anything that I've done, because I have been able to impact so many lives as an educator and have learned so much from the kids and from the people that I have worked alongside in these last couple of years, that I would not have changed it for the world.
Vanessa?
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome. And forgive me if I blank out. The internet sometimes is unstable, but we're going to believe that I can get my question out. My question is, this new way of having to teach, going from online to people doing in-home studying and in-home schooling, how has that impacted you and the teachers that are under you overall? What have you seen?
So being that we're now a year into teaching this way, because when the pandemic first started in March last year, the teachers had to completely go online. So they were not prepared to teach the kids 100% online. I mean, of course, before the pandemic, some teachers were already teaching with different platforms, but not using it 100%. And so that in itself took a toll on the educational system. And so from last year, when we started with the online teaching, and then moving forward in August, when we began the hybrid teaching of online and in person, we began to bring along some new platforms to help teachers to be able to engage with the students that are online. And so one of the setbacks is that we have a lot of students who don't have the resources to engage with the teachers online. So we have students who are lacking internet access, who don't have laptops. So it has been a roadblock for those kids to even just grasp the education that they need. And so teachers, now that we are getting more and more kids back to campus, they're still having to teach both in person and online, even with the kids that they have in front of them. And so that is also difficult. I mean, when you walk into a classroom and the teacher has maybe 5 students sitting in front of them, but yet she has 15 online, she's still trying to give them the quality education for both sets of kids. And so just trying to do a lesson that you're able to, work with both kids and give them all the same opportunities is difficult in itself. And I can tell you that our teachers, when you say your frontline workers and your superheroes, definitely, if you see a teacher, give them a pat on the back, because they are working really, really hard to try to capture the kids and give them the education that they need. And so, in my district alone, we've been providing, and most districts have provided access for laptops and even some hotspots to make sure kids have what they need to, still learn during this time. But we have to also understand that I'm at a high school and a lot of our kids are now working. They're providing for their families because they've lost jobs due to and their parents have lost some of their parents due to COVID-19. So a lot of our seniors that are in schools are now working. And so they're having to log in at 2 o'clock in the morning just to stay on top of their work, just to stay on top of their classes. And our teachers are working hard, logging in to see if they completed their assignments, to provide assistance for them when they come on that in the morning at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to complete their assignments. And even on the weekends, I have math teachers that do tutoring on Sunday because that's the only time their kids can log in because they're working in the week, or they're having to babysit their sisters and brothers during the day, and so they only have time to work on their assignments at night. So our kids are plagued with so many different other things that are going on in their life that education has taken a back seat to what's really going on in the communities right now. And so.
Yeah, that sounds,
Wow.
that's a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And we want to say that we appreciate the educators. We were just talking about how we are going to add the educators onto our Thursday night prayer list, because there are things going on with the educators that the average person have no idea. And we pray for the frontline workers, and nobody thinks that the educators are also frontline workers, because they are responsible for making sure that our children are educated. And with that being said, I wanted to ask about the mental health state of the educators, that from your view or perspective, how is the COVID affecting the mental health state of the teachers, the staff, because not everybody is a teacher, the staff, and also the students, because loss is loss. And so it sounds like they've had to pick up and do extra stuff that they didn't have to do. So they're taking they're adulting a little sooner than they would have. I'm going to say it like that. So that's got to be difficult within itself. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, so we can the research and everything shows that depression and anxiety has increased during this pandemic. And so teachers and our social workers, for instance, our social workers are having to provide so many resources for kids. We are now in the position where we're able to, when parents call in and they tell us they don't have water, they don't have electricity, they don't have certain things because they've lost their jobs, our social workers and our faith specialists are getting together to go and visit the homes to provide them resources and get them in touch with programs to provide food for them, to help them with their bills. And so you think about a kid sitting at a home where they don't even have the basic needs that every day, it's difficult to want to log in online to do any work. And so even the kids that, we're kind of trickling in, phasing in our kids to come to campus now that we've been given the green light. And so, but we still have so many of our kids still at home. So they're missing the social aspect, because a lot of kids come to school to socialize, come to see their friends and they to talk to people, and they don't have that right now. So then you have kids that are now dealing with their thoughts and dealing with suicidal thoughts and dealing with things that they didn't have to deal with before, and have no one to talk to or an avenue to release any of this energy, because they're not able to come to school, which school has been a safe place for so many kids, even providing a meal for a kid more than they would get at their own home. At my campus, we provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So if the kid is not coming to school in an in-person school, they're missing that, because a lot of kids come to school just to eat. They go to class, they might not,
Absolutely.
work, but they come just to eat because it's there for them and it's free.
Yeah.
You know that every day they're going to come, they're going to get a hot meal the day. And so when this pandemic started and none of the kids were in school, look at the resources that they were no longer getting just for being in the building. And so, like I said before, the depression and anxiety is at an all-time high, even with parents, even with our teachers. Our teachers, when this first started and we began to let kids come back in August, we didn't know about this disease. We didn't know anything about it. So when we started letting kids in, teachers their anxiety level was high because they didn't know, like, just being in the presence of a kid, will I get the disease? A kid in my classroom touching the desk, will I get the disease? They didn't know. So they were so afraid of catching the disease, taking it home to their families, taking it home to their children. So they didn't know about the disease. So as we begin to know more and more about the disease, they are getting a little bit more comfortable with us bringing more kids, but still that level of anxiety is still high, especially being in a community where we've lost, coworkers, and thinking that, did this come from some kid that came to school? Did this come from some coworker? Not knowing where it came from, that in itself, losing a coworker, losing a family member, has caused great anxiety for staff members as well. So it has taken a toll on everyone in the building, administrators trying to be able to keep calm, and be there for them when they're having to deal with people at home that may have the disease, that they're coming every day knowing that they have a mother or a father, sister, or a brother who has the disease, struggling with the disease and the symptoms, but they're still having to work because they need a paycheck. And so one of the things that it's always concerning is if they have a symptom. It may not be COVID, but the fact that you can walk into a building and cough, people are automatically thinking, oh my gosh, you have COVID. But when someone has to work and provide for their family, they're coming to work, And so thankfully, we have COVID testing on our campus every week. So every student, every staff member has access to that every week where they can be tested for COVID every Thursday. So that has also been a relief for a lot of people, knowing that we have access to that and they can be tested. And then we can know if someone has been affected with the virus. And then our district has also allowed for 3,000 of our staff members to be vaccinated. And so a lot of them took that up and vaccinated last Monday and received the vaccination. So I think that now that these resources are available and people are taking advantage of them has brought them a sense of relief. But again, we still have the concern that we have a lot of kids who are not in the building receiving the resource and just receiving the interaction of someone being there in their face and as a presence to provide them the support, because even kids come to school just to be loved, because we want them in the building and they only get person that listens to them at school, because that one teacher is there to support them because they don't have that support at home, because mom and dad are not at home, or they work all day and they don't get home. By the time they do get home, they're asleep. By the time they wake up, they're gone again. And so we have so many kids that are still from home that they're not getting that support that they need because they're not coming into the building.
Wow, that's a lot of important information. That is some vital stuff to remember and to be mindful of, especially during this season. And I know, like you said, that the children are losing people they know, family members and friends and loved ones. And you've said that there's also staff members that they have lost. How do you deal with the children and their grief? How do you, what do you have set up, or what do you recommend parents do when they see their children going through a lot of emotional distress because of grief?
First off, Tetra's families, parents need to be very engaged in what their kids are doing, because oftentimes it's that parents are unaware, they have no idea that their kids are suffering. And so one of the things that our district does is that when we have a loss in the community, We provide instant grievance counseling and counseling for families and students and faculty as well. And so they are very quick on providing those resources so we're very fortunate that we have access to those resources. And then also our social workers, our counselors provide students and parents resources whenever they're dealing with grief and loss and things of that nature. But like I said, a lot of times kids are at home by themselves. And so they're having to deal with these thoughts and try to navigate the way they feel by themselves. And so when we have kids that have not been engaged in the classroom, our teachers are trying their best to reach out and try to communicate with parents and teachers and students and family members, calling whomever is on their list that we can get in touch with, to now where we're sending out our social workers to try and find kids that we have not been engaged in online learning whatsoever. We've tried to bring out different things at our campus where we're bringing kids in just to touch base with them, just to say, hey, are you okay? What do you need? And I don't think a lot of schools are doing that, but that is very much needed, because they may need something else other than trying to learn. And so opening your doors just to say, hey, are you okay? What do you need? Can we be of assistance to you? It carries a lot more weight than me trying to ask you, how come you haven't done your homework today? And so we are trying to create different opportunities and avenues for where we can just say, hey, how are you? Having meetings, and just even on the Zoom settings, to have different meetings for parents to engage with us and even ask them, what resources do you need? How can we be of assistance to you? Helps parents in the community know we're here for you, and whatever you need, we're here to help you to access those resources and things of that nature.
That's good, because a lot of parents are busy and they are trying to make ends meet, and they are, and it's no fault of their own, but it's good to have that second buffer of someone paying attention and someone there to say, you know what, you might want to take a look at your child, or let's get together and figure this out together. So when a child is struggling, when they're struggling and the teacher notices the struggle, what are some of the steps? I know that you said that you get with call everybody, and how do they identify? Help parents to know what to look for, to identify those markers in their children when something is just not quite right, because at those ages, as a teenager, they're already different because of hormones. So what is it that makes this a little bit more noticeable or different? So if you could explain that to us so that we can also spread the word.
When students are spending a lot of time alone, when they're not gathering and having conversations with people, because that's one of the things that we see a lot, is that they're spending a lot of time alone, and parents will say, he doesn't want to do anything. He has no motivation. They don't want to do their work. They don't even want to communicate with us. That's a sign they're asking for help. That's a cry for help. And so every so often we are getting with our teachers to find out which kid has not logged in. Once we get that list, we notify our social worker, and she begins to do home visits. If we have still not been successful, then our administrators, we ourselves begin to reach out and do additional home visits to see if we can just find where these kids are. Because, when kids aren't in school, they're doing other things, and they're being involved in other things. Yes. Potentially get them in trouble. And so we want to be able to catch that before that happens. And so we're definitely trying to, counselors are being very involved in the when kids are doing their assignments and things like that. We have a ton of seniors who are in jeopardy of not graduating this year because they're not logging in. And they're so close that last week we created a senior day for them just to come to the building and say, this is what you need to graduate. gave them a passport to show them these are the things you need to graduate. And so we just have to continue to, I mean, if we're nagging, we're gonna nag because we're still trying to be an ever presence in the kids' lives. And so to make sure that they're being successful, because a lot of kids don't really understand how important education is to them, you know, because they're not seeing that same reflection because some of their parents didn't graduate, some of those parents didn't go to school, didn't finish school. So they're just, my mom didn't go to school and we're okay, we're fine. And so thinking that education is as important as, you know, we preach to them all the time. But now that they're seeing, some of the kids are seeing that their parents are losing their jobs and can't find jobs because they don't have a backup plan. They don't have an education to, you know, or a trade, and, you know, fall back on. Now some kids are seeing that it's important for me to have something in place. And so, so we've tried our best to, once we, parents have, you know, parents do reach out to us and we'll call them and say, hey, such and such hasn't logged on, you know, what's going on? We have homework lounge that we have set up to 7 o'clock at night, where teachers sit there and they're just there available for kids to log in and talk to them and ask them for help and assistance. I mean, our teachers are working above and beyond to try to make sure kids get what they need. And so when we call parents and tell them such and such hasn't logged on today, he hasn't logged on in a week or whatever, the parents will tell us, well, they've been working. They've been trying to help us at home. They've been trying to do, you know, whatever. We'll let them know that, or we'll work with them so they can begin to log in or whatever. But now we're hearing more kids, parents call us and say, can they come to campus? They're not learning at home. Can they come to campus? So we're adding them to the list so we can now back to campus so they can start seeing teachers face to face, because kids, a lot of kids in our community don't even have a place to learn in their home where they can just in a quiet area and actually learn. They're probably sitting in their beds trying to do their work, and they don't have a place where they can just sit in a quiet area and just learn. Just the basic things in life kids don't have. And so trying to provide all that for them during this time has been very difficult, but I believe that we're working toward providing a better education during this time for the kids, and we're doing our best to make sure they have what they need.
Absolutely. That's awesome. That's wonderful that your campus provides so many things. Yes. And I hope that if a parent is listening to this and their child's campus is not, that they get involved with those who they can talk to, with the teachers, with the counselors, with the principals, you know, to make sure that everything that can be done is being done. And with that being said, I know a lot of parents realize how tough it is to teach a kid, especially at home. And you know, I was seeing different things where when COVID first broke out, where they were like, okay, I quit. And they were the parent and, you know, dealing with all the online stuff. And these were their kids. So just imagine what teachers have to go through. And, and with all these different personalities and these different backgrounds and these different attitudes that, you know, and so I think it opened the eyes to a lot of parents of what teaching really is. And so my question would be, what advice would you give to a parent who is able to help someone but doesn't have all the means? How should they set up a place that's conducive for learning? How can they make their child or get their child more interested if they seem disinterested and they're not going to campus right now?
For those, because I always laugh at that, because when the pandemic first started, my husband and I were both stuck at home and having to work from home with a 2-year-old. And so being able to, both of us, one of us was online doing a meeting, another one online, but yet we had to still, you know, make sure that he was doing what he needed to do. So as a parent and an educator, it was overwhelming. So I can imagine for those who not have an educational background and have 3 or 4 kids at home that they're trying to help do the online learning. Right. how difficult that can be, you know, because like some of the math that they're doing now in upper grade levels, if you're not a math teacher or don't have a math background, that stuff is foreign to you. You have no idea.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, this is a new math. I ain't never seen this before, kind of thing. So parents are stressed themselves just trying to help kids learn. And so one way to set up a place is try to like at the kitchen table, you know, just give them an area to know this is the place where you do your assignments, you know, during these times, and just set up and just say, okay, guys, from 8 to 12, we're going to sit at the table and everybody's going to do their work here from 8 to 12, get them some headphones if it's more than one child, and so they can log in and do their assignments. Because with the pandemic, you know, when you go to school, you have like, whether it's an 8-period day or you have a block schedule, you know, you have attendance, you go to class, you get attendance. Well, with online learning, they're just requesting that you just log on and do your assignments. And so you don't necessarily have to be in the, you know, sitting there for 8 hours a day to do your work. And so they've made it so convenient for them to just be able to just log in. So you can set up a schedule for your kids and say, you know, for 45 minutes, you're going to work on science. Everybody's going to work on science. And give them a 5-minute break. Next 45 minutes, everybody's going to work on history. Give them a 5-minute break, and then have a lunch. Just have a schedule set down like you're at school. And that way they have a routine in place that they can be successful at doing and know that they're going to wake up, meaning wake up, get dressed, not wake up, stay in your pajamas, wake up, get dressed like you're going to school, sit at the kitchen table, and you're going to work from 8 to 12. And then you can go play after that. But a schedule for them, stick to the schedule, and they know 8 to 12 we're in school. If you're online, you're in school, you're gonna do your work, and then your teachers are available. So if you have a question, you can send a message directly to your teacher so that you can get the help that you need, you know, and teachers are recording their lessons and you can go back and watch lessons. So it's so many resources available that they can find online through their teacher's websites or Canvas, you know, whatever online platform the campus is using, so they can find that. But setting up a routine for your kids and allowing them to stick to that like they're in school will help tremendously.
Yeah, routines are very important. And children don't like them, but they really need them.
Yes,
they
definitely.
really need them. And when you were talking, it made me think about most children have been out of school for a year or more, or, you know, are coming up on a year, and with no real schedule, no real schedule at all. So how is that transition working when they do come back to campus? What is going on for those poor children and the teachers who have to make now new adjustments from going from 4 hours of study to an 8-hour day? How are they navigating that? How are the teachers and the students navigating that?
So at the high school level, when they come to campus, it's a bell-to-bell schedule. You're on a bell schedule, you're in class for 90 minutes, and you have a bell to send you to the next class. And so they have to quickly, you know, get back to that schedule when they come on campus. Now, when they're online, we still have that same schedule in place that they can still follow. But like for whatever happens, you know, with their life or whatever's going on, they can, you know, just do asynchronous work where they're just doing their work by themselves on their own and then just, you know, contacting the teacher when they need be. But for those who would like to stick to the schedule that in-person kids are sticking to, we still have that available for kids. So they can still have that same schedule if they choose to be online and go to all their classes during the times allotted on the bell schedule. But if students choose to do the asynchronous work where they're just logging and doing their work on their own time, those are the ones that when they come to campus, they're like, hey, you got to stick to this schedule. It's a little bit of a transition for them, but they quickly learn, like in this first period, get to class, you got 90 minutes for that class. I do struggle with the 90 minutes because you're sitting in class for 90 minutes and you're used to being at home and just logging in whenever you get what you need and then being able to log out can be very hard for some kids when they come to campus, but they quickly get adjusted quickly, and we help them to get adjusted as well. But yes.
So what would you, something that may not have brought out or had the opportunity to ask, what would you want all parents to know overall that they may not know, or some information that the news may not have told them, or their teacher may not have informed them of, that you see being something that is vital and important during this time?
That we're here as a support, because a lot of times in our community, families are intimidated by educators because they may not have the knowledge like an educated person or someone who's went to college. And don't be intimidated, ask. Don't be afraid to ask if you need something. We're here to support. We're here for the community. And so if there's a need, ask. If we don't have it, we'll surely find a way to get what you need. And so, like I said before, we've had parents call us when we call to check on a kid. They tell us what's going on, and immediately we find the resources to try to help those families. And even if, I mean, things like clothes. We had a kid we invited to campus a couple weeks ago, and mom said, well, he can't start till Monday because he doesn't have clothes. I immediately went to my social worker and say, hey, we need to get clothes for this kid to be in camp, because clothes shouldn't be the reason why you're not getting educated. And so I just want them to know that we're here and available, even if you need to just talk to us, even if you need to just vent to us about what's going on. Even through that venting, we can find resources for you of what's going on, because we've had several kids who have lost parents to the pandemic, and we're making sure we check on them and let them know that we're here for them and helping them to find resources, to find money for when they graduate to go to college, because we want all kids to be successful. And so even if they're trying to go into the military, going into a trade, helping them find ways to find the funds to go to college, to go to these trade schools. Like, we're here as a resource to help them. And I want parents to feel that they can come to the schools in their community and reach out and try to get those resources. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we've all been in a position where we've needed something from someone. Even all of us who are so credentialed, you've been in a place where you've needed something from someone, and there's nothing wrong with asking and trying to get help and assistance to help you and your children be successful.
That's good. And so as we're coming up on our hour real quickly, because you've been great, and we've gotten a lot of information. And I just wanted to know this question before we stop. Have the educators found that children are the online, is it more difficult for them, or is it just as easy as being in the classroom?
Oh, online is so difficult because when you're in person, you can go to the kid who's been, not engaged and say, hey, Johnny, I need you to get up and pay attention. When they're online, they turn that camera off. You don't know if they're there or not. You can that student so many times, and they probably done got up and went and washed dishes for mama, or went and took care of something outside. You don't know. And so kids, it's so difficult to even see or know if they're engaged in the classroom or engaged in the lesson. As we do walkthroughs and we go into classrooms, a teacher may have 20 blocks on her Zoom, right? But maybe 5 are actually in the Zoom. The other kids may be playing a game, doing something else, not engaged. So the online is very difficult to engage kids, because, you've been in Zooms. I know, a lot of people have been in Zoom, how quickly it is for your attention to be taken away from something. Something you hear outside, you step away. You got to go to the bathroom, away. Their attention spans are very long. And so you're having to be engaged in a Zoom for 90 minutes or 45 for that matter. It's a matter of time for they just walk away from that camera and not interested in what's going on or what that teacher is saying. So most teachers would rather have the kids back in the building where they can have that face-to-face conversation with them, engage them in the lesson.
That's good.
Has there been any discussion pertaining to the vaccinations? Is that something that's going to be mandatory down the road, or is that still going to be an optional thing for parent to parent concern in their child? Do you know anything about that?
They haven't had that discussion in my district right now, But I did hear that like in other states, they are making it a requirement for kids to be vaccinated before they return to campus. But we have not had that discussion in my district yet.
Okay, and do you believe that that would be a requirement overall and even for the teachers?
I think probably in the near future, it will probably be one of those vaccines, kind of like the vaccines that are required for students to have that they need. It probably will be coming down in the future for something that will be required. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so for our wrap up, give us a synopsis of if there was something you could just let parents and teachers and grandparents and educators, everybody, just something from your heart you want them to know, or you did already let us know that you're available and not to be intimidated, but for everyone involved, for the community, for the single mom, for the the tired grandma, all those that are having to deal with everything, including young children. What would your takeaway, your final, hey, this is so important, this is what I need you to know, what would that be?
For all the parents to have patience. The first thing is to have patience, because right now what they're having to endure during this time requires patience from you as a parent. And not only having patience, also be able to know and ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask your kids, hey, do you understand? And if you don't understand, be able to know who to reach out to and what resources you have available to you to help your kids. And if you don't know, call your schools and ask them what resources they have to help your kids. Don't be afraid to call. Don't be afraid to ask. And if your kids are struggling, look at the opportunities your school has to help them, tutoring times they have, teacher available conference periods to talk with their families. Talk with your teachers to help them, kids that are struggling. Because we have to think some kids have not been educated since March. That's a year. So the gaps that have been created for these kids, if they were already behind, think about the widening of this gap because they haven't even been involved in school for a whole year. So parents have to be advocates as well for their kids, especially the younger ones, because, the younger ones may not know how to ask for help. And so you have to be advocates for your kids. Grandmothers, you need to call the schools if you don't understand the information that's being sent to you. Call the schools and ask them for help. Have them help you read the information and understand all the information that is coming down from the state and federal levels that we're sending out to you for information. And it's okay that you call and say, hey, I got a letter from this teacher, I got a letter from this, and I don't understand. We will help you read through that and be able to understand all the information that has been provided to you from the school. So if you don't know, ask. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Well, and I had one quick final thing that just came up. When I know that, there was a peak, a hike in the pandemic, when the teachers were not available to teach, what would happen during those times if you could not get, replacements or substitutes? So would the children be out of class, or what takes the place of the teacher at that point?
So when we have teachers that are out because they're in quarantine or whatever the case may be, we have, in our district, we have elite subs. And so we have subs that come to the campus every single day. Now, we don't have as many subs as that we had before the pandemic, but we do have, several subs that come to the campus no matter what, every single day that we have access to. And so, there was a time where we had 15 teachers out to COVID, whether they were quarantined, had COVID, or had been exposed or whatever the case may be, had a family member, close family member that had it. 15 teachers were out. And so we're having to take those elite subs and put them with them, or combine classes for that matter, during that time, so that we can make sure all kids have a place to go during that time. But luckily, when that happens, we didn't have as many kids on campus. So it was easy to try to find places for them to be. I mean, and like I said, setting up that area for them to learn is what our main focus was, because our teachers are still teaching online, even though kids are in the building. So they still had a place. We would, make a place for them to sit and be able to Zoom into the classroom and still learn, because we had so many teachers out.
Wow. Okay. Sister Kim, you have any final remarks?
No, ma'am. I think Sister Keisha has been a phenomenal guest today. And but I just have one more thing that I want to request for her before we go into the final thing, is if you wouldn't mind, if you would just pray for the teachers and the students and the parents and the staff, everybody, whatever the Lord lays on your heart, just pray for them, if you don't mind.
Yes, ma'am. Father God, we come to you today, thanking you for everything that you're doing in our lives and everything that you continue to do. God, I ask you to cover the teachers, the custodial workers, the front office workers, the bus drivers, the administrators, everyone that is taking care of any student that is walking in the building. God, I ask you to cover them, God. I ask you to give them a hedge of protection as they deal with the kids, as they come into the buildings, oh God. God, I ask you to touch the parents, God, as they're having to make decisions every day for their household, God, and give them the wisdom and knowledge to continue to move forward in you, oh God. God, I ask you to prepare them with the thoughts and minds to encourage their children as they're trying to learn online and to go into the buildings to learn in person, oh God. Give them the wisdom and the knowledge to continue as their parents and to make the decisions that are right for them, God. God, I ask you to touch our students. I ask you to touch our students right now and to touch their minds and the hearts, God. We know the depression and anxiety has increased in this world, oh God. I ask you to touch their minds, God, and put them in contact with somebody that knows you, God. If they don't know you already, God, put them in the position to find someone who knows you, to help them to learn about you and your life. God, giving them the mind to want to say one day, what can I do to be saved, oh God? God, and I just thank you. I thank you for everything that you've done. I thank you for this platform here today, for allowing us to have this discussion, God, with your people, God, and to educate them on what's going on in the world today and in the school systems, God. God, and I thank you for the ReCare, God, to bless the women in the ReCare, and to ask them to continue to pray for our people and our nation, God, giving them to mind to want to continue on in you, oh God. God, I ask you to bless their homes and bless their finances, God, touch their bodies and heal them from any ailment, knowing and unknowing, oh God. God, and as we continue to move forward in you, and give us strength, God, as we continue on in our day, oh God, as we remove ourselves from this platform and on this Facebook Live, God, I ask you to allow somebody to come in and watch this video, God, and be touched and learn more and more and more about you, God. There are people here in the world that are wanting to pray for them and wanting to be there for them in an ever-present help, oh God. And we ask all these things in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Praise the Lord.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bibbs. Hallelujah. I feel like running through troops and leaping over walls. Glory to God. We just want to say thank you.
Do you feel like becoming a teacher?
No.
Come on, we need some help.
I am a teacher. I'm a
In
teacher.
the classroom.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
In the classroom.
It's a classroom. Praise the Lord. It's a classroom. It's a life classroom. Thank you, Jesus.
Yes.
But again, we have enjoyed ourselves on today. We thank you so much for joining us today and joining us for our discussion on how COVID is affecting our children in the education system. We pray that something was said or something was that you were encouraged on how to navigate through this difficult season that we're in, that we're being faced with. We look forward to serving you again at our next discussion, and we hope that you will be able to join us. It will be April the 10th at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on Saturday. We will be discussing a new topic every second and fourth Saturday Standard Time, so please join us. We Care Ministry support team is here for you, and if you've lost someone or you're having a difficult time, or you just want special prayer, you can sign up for prayer on our Facebook Live page. On our Facebook page, you can just click the button and type it in, or you can just go into this chat on this one and make a comment and let us know that you would like for us to pray for you. We're also available for appointments if you just need somebody to talk to. You can reach us at wecare.ministry@att.net. You can get us on the Facebook page. We are available. If you know us personally, you know our phone numbers and our email addresses. Amen. So if you just need a little push, if you just need a little oomph so that you can be triumphant, we are here for you. And if you just simply desire to look at some of our older tapes, you can go to our YouTube channel, and you can just pick something to watch. We're always here. And don't forget to like, follow, and share us on Facebook. And, you know, we've started to say now that if you would like to help in ministry, just share one of our posts, and that will be a way to minister to someone who's hurting. We will be praying for you, your loved one, and your family members every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So submit your prayer requests even today. Praise the Lord. And don't forget again to like, share, and follow us on Facebook. And remember that We Care Ministry support team is here,
helping you navigate through.
So tell your family and your friends
and your friends and your loved ones about We Care Ministry support team. We appreciate you being with us today. We thank you, Dr. Bibbs, for all your vital and valuable information. We've learned a lot. And also for those of you who support us or go back and look at the video after the live, we thank you. We appreciate your support. And also, if there are any things that you would like for us to talk about or to bring a panelist on, we do not mind any extra comments or any suggestions that you may have on a specific topic that could help you or your family, someone, whether it's about COVID, whether it's about grief, whether it's about depression, whether it's about cancer or ministry itself, how to minister to people going through these things. We are able to help you, and if we cannot, we will definitely get a certified or licensed or professional person to be on here to be able to help you get your questions answered, so you don't have to go through anything alone or not knowing. So if there are some topics that you would like for us to discuss, or if you have someone that you think would be a great panelist, send us the information and we will definitely take that into consideration. We will be praying about that and make sure that they come on to share. We're all about sharing what we know, just like Dr. Bibbs. She wants to share with the community and with families, and she wants to share with us to be able to share with one another what we've learned about this, so that not only to help the children, to help the teachers, but it helps everyone together in this together. And because we are We Care Ministry support team, know that we do care. So have a blessed weekend. We love you. And until next time, we do care.
We care. God bless you. See you next time.